Sad true life story. I was 20 when I got married. Whenever you notice I'm silent, please bear with me. It's because I'm troubled and on medication to help me get through it. My husband and I lived together for 6 months before he left for NYSC service. I was pregnant when he left. I gave birth before he returned, and the baby was just a week old. When he came back from service, he started working in a town called Kayakusar where we lived. Some years late, I got pregnant again. When I told him the news of my pregnancy, he said he did not want kids. I was shocked and startled, as he had said the same thing during my first pregnancy. However, I was able to have the baby because he was not around at that time. He said he did not get married to have children, and I asked why. Why didn't you tell me before we got married? You should have told me, so I would know what I am getting into. I explained that I am from the north, and we northerners, the primary reason for marriage is to have children. It's part of our culture and tradition. This man stood his ground, insisting he did not want kids. In fact, I will send receipts of my story and the legitimacy of my experience. This is not a movie, but my life story. I was laying on the bed in our room when this man brought out abortion kits for D&C procedure and handed them to me, telling me to sterilize them. It took them to the kitchen, boiled them with salt, and brought them back to him. He laid me down and spread my legs wide open, no pill, no medication, no pain relief of any kind, and performed the abortion on me using scissors and other surgical instruments. He cut everything from my uterus while I lay back there helpless, then told me to flush it down the toilet. This was my husband doing this to me. By the way, the incident I'm telling you about did not happen just once or even 3 times. It happened 9 different times. My husband did this to me, performing these abortions and killing children because he did not want them. People's lives are different reasons why I don't judge or condemn anyone with what my eyes have seen, and I have become neutral about life. On the 9th abortion, when he was finished, I got up from the bed and saw something on the bed that looked like a frog with dots. I asked him what it was. He said that is an embryo at that time. My highest qualification was secondary school, and I did not really know what an embryo was. What is an embryo? He replied, that is a baby, an unborn baby. I asked, what should I do with it? He told me to flush it. Is your husband a doctor? The interviewer asked. Yes, he's a doctor, but a psychiatrist. Even at that time, he was a psychiatrist, so I took it to the toilet and flushed it. That particular one has stayed in my mind because of the way the embryo looked. I have not been able to get it out of my head. What type of abuse will you classify this? As at then, I believed that I was his property because I was his wife, and he was right to do whatever he wanted with me. It was when we moved to Australia that I realized women have rights and are not second-class citizens. So I started seeking help and telling people what I was going through and what he had done and was doing to me. Everyone was shocked, looking at me in disbelief and asking why my own husband would be so horrible and do such unspeakable things to me. A woman asked him if it was true. He said yes. In his defense, he claimed that most women in Nigeria die during childbirth, and that is why he was doing it. The counselor who asked him the question simply believed him, instead of questioning him further, or telling him that, as a medical professional, he should know better. If he could perform abortions, why did he not opt for family planning, but he let him be? I thought to myself what kind of life I was living, staying with a man who was comfortable killing my children, so I told him I had enough, then packed my things and left him. He mocked me, saying all sorts of things like he picked me up from the gutter, and that if it were not for him, I'd never made it to Australia. I told him it's a lie, and he was mistaken. It was my destiny to be in Australia. God made it possible, and with or without him, it was bound to happen. He moved on in Australia and got involved with an older Igbo woman. He then called my only son and told him many absurd things, saying he wanted nothing to do with me, his mother, anymore. Since he told my son that, my son became depressed and incapacitated. That my first and only son, and he loved me so much. He is my everything in this world. He rejected my son because he stood by me, and completely. My son went through the pain of rejection from his father, while also witnessing the hardships I was facing, working 3 jobs and enduring various struggles. All of this took a toll on my son's mental health, leading him in and out of psychiatric hospitals. Sometime in September 2021, I was getting ready to go to the hospital when I saw my son packing things out of his room. I asked what was going on, and he said he just wanted to clean up his room. I was surprised and joked, "Wow, what babe are you expecting today for you to decide to clean up your room by yourself?" I was always the one cleaning his room, so it caught me off guard. When I came back from the hospital, I had some kits I needed strapped onto my body to monitor sleep and vitals, as per the doctor's instructions. I asked him to help me with them before bed, and he did. The next morning, I overheard him opening his door. I didn't bother to check, because I still had the medical kit strapped to my head, and I just assumed he was heading out for his usual work routine. Little did I know he had booked a flight to Sydney. When I finally got up and went to his room to check on him, the moment I opened the door and realized he had left, I screamed and cried out. I immediately picked up my phone and called my ex-husband's relatives and some of his friends, pleading with them to talk to him if they knew anything about my son leaving. I cried and begged until I was exhausted. Then I still maintain a good relationship with them. I called severally for days, no results. Eventually I was admitted to the hospital. My son called me and reconnected over the phone. He called me from time to time. He couldn't bear seeing me, his mother, suffering and going through everything I was enduring, and he felt helpless. That's why he left. This went on for a while. One day, I decided to go to the police station to make a report, because I know my son is sick and unstable. I told them I needed help finding my son and that I wanted him to come back home. The police told me they couldn't do anything about it since he was an adult, and that it was his decision to make. The police pitied me, but then it was already too late. If you check Sydney Harbor, the last reported case of suicide was my son. A Nigerian, a northerner, that's my son. I asked them to show me the CCTV footage, but they said it wouldn't be wise to watch as he is my son. He was my everything. My son died in a well-populated area, on a well-known bridge in the world. I cannot lie to you. Allah blessed me with wealth, blessed me with everything it's of no use. I am depressed, and I forced them to show the CCTV. He went on top of Sydney Bridge, removed his shirt and his trouser, underwear, everything, and dived into the water. I just want to leave this life. I live for nothing.